I know Abby Childers wanted to report in. Was anybody from the data committee wanted to report in too?
So the data committee, I hung up with Cynthia. I think she's probably still on the line.
Yep, she's there. I see her name.
Oh, so sorry. Sorry. Better? Okay. I hung up with Cynthia on the real phone, and I think she's still on the line, and she is our reigning czar for our team.
Is she sharing out?
Hmm?
Is she gonna be sharing out? 'Cause
I
I'll
think
unmute her.
that I wrote down the notes. I can do that. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. If she's good with that. It took a little while to get her phone number, so that might be a little delay. But Cynthia had asked for somebody to replace her as the chair of that little team, and so I'll do that. And we were going to get in touch with Nancy Johnson and possibly either Carol Ann or Sherry to look at this disproportionality. I know the letters just came out with warning list, and so we wanted to look at the statewide trends and kind of plot them out on the map and see if there was any sort of themes or trends before the December meeting so that we could use our time in December effectively when we have committee time. And I thought Nancy would be the best one to get that data
Yeah.
from.
She is,
that
and
the
I
right-
would just say, go ahead and email her.
That's,
and-
yep, that's
and request
exactly
that.
what I,
Yep, she's got it. I mean, she's run the reports already, so.
Okay.
She should be able
Yep.
to provide that.
and I think, where's my other teammate? I think that was really what we talked about. And then in December, we're gonna focus our efforts on the disproportionality and if there's any like trends across the state that we can focus our efforts on and look at. Okay. Or in certain areas.
All right, that sounds good. Do you want to report back for the amenities since you're the chair of the amenities, or I can because I was there.
I think the notes are mostly on yours, but maybe we can tag team it. We were talking somewhat for the report and the vision of what we wanted to be able to do. And within that, was talking in the concern of that we're not really meeting a lot of unmet needs because we're not getting work time to actually figure out what we need to do and how to move forward. We're also still not getting a lot of public comment, trying to figure out some pieces of that. So we were talking in terms of maybe, did we get,
Yeah.
may need to fill that
Yeah.
piece, yeah.
Well, we're looking at kind of redoing how our meeting schedule goes, our meeting agenda goes. We're looking at possibly doing for the presentation pieces. We'll have our presentation. Then we might have 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A with the expert presenter who's presenting, and then 10 to 15 minutes of a debrief within the council. So like, she said this, and I thought that was interesting. Do we need to make a recommendation on that? Like, for example, we mentioned the suicide protocols that some of the school systems have in place. Sounds like some school systems don't. Should we make that as a recommendation that all districts need to have a suicide protocol in place for identifying children at risk and making sure that we're getting them connected with the services they need, because this is a life or death situation for some of these kids. That was a recommendation that we kind of come up with out of the presentation this morning. So that was part of it. The other part of it was because there seems to be not much time for committee work by the time we get to committee at the end of the day. The possibility of using the webinar system to be able to meet as a group outside of this larger group, outside of these meetings. And I spoke with Tish about it. The biggest thing that she said we need to do is try to make it as structured as possible. Like if we want to do it on the third Thursday of the month at 3:00, that would work as long as it was consistent so that they can post it for public comment purposes, but makes it easier for her to schedule as well with the webinar because that webinar account fills up quickly. You blink and it's gone. So that's the challenge we have there. I don't know if every committee would be interested in something like that. The Met Needs Committee is. So as committee leaders who are listening, Christy or Abby on the computer, feedback on that when you get a chance to. But we had added recommendations for the suicide protocol to the annual report, as well as recommending that all districts offer some form of program similar to, doesn't have to be mental health first aid, but to make sure that our teachers and our staff are getting some exposure, some training in that regard to be able to support our students.
So I know our teammate from Department of Health Services, Human Health Services, isn't here today, but I know that like with the crisis team, there are requirements through that with the mental health. And I wonder if it coming from exceptional children, if the better thing to do instead of sending it straight onto the state board is to send it to that group and see what they have in their requirements. They actually met today.
Okay.
So I don't know if it would work better coming from, I mean, it's more aligned with their work.
Yeah, we might
Because
make a
it's not
meeting
about
around that.
exceptional children, it's
Yeah.
about,
All children. Yeah. Same way with the suicide protocol. But, yeah, but 80% or more of our children are in regular education and regular
yes.
settings. So, you know, it's not
absolutely.
just.
I'm just saying
yeah,
it's not about
Yeah,
just our population, it's about,
yeah, I totally agree. And
Yeah.
that might be something we want to look into as a future meeting topic. I need to write that down. So, thank you for that. So I think that was it. So was that everything we had, Diane?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that was
Okay.
the gist of what we.
And I know Abby
Yeah,
wanted
few
to
other
chime in from
Abby,
webinar.
you're unmuted now.
Okay, great. So I have a couple, let me start with this one question since you guys were just talking about possibly doing a webinar. I couldn't hear everything. But do I need to add that to policies?
I'm not sure. I mean, we can look into the bylaws and add that if necessary. That might be something the bylaws committee, if we decide to do that, can do. I mean, I don't think, I know we formally meet 4 times a year. I think webinar meetings are kind of more or less ad hoc, but even if they are scheduled, so.
Okay.
as
And you're
needed.
not doing that as a public meeting because it's not a public,
Right.
it wouldn't be a public meeting, so you don't have to publicize those webinars.
Okay.
I'm not
It's a
aware- I
committee
mean,
meeting.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I've heard both things in the past, so where it has to be or it has to be, if it has so many people of the committee or of the council involved, so it gets tricky. So
Okay.
we'll sort that out.
Also, Carol Ann, I hate to put you on the spot. Is there any way you can pull up the bylaws? Do you have access to that or no?
I do have access to it. Let me see if I can get to it from our webpage.
I guess I should have asked you like 15 minutes ago. I just now thought about it. I'm sorry.
So maybe you might want to do your committee report out while I'm trying to pull this up. Will that be a good use of our time?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm basically just going to report on the bylaws and possibly changing a few things. It states on here, it looks like that the last time they were looked at was 2000.
We lost you.
2000
the worst time that she cut
16,
out.
2016.
Yeah, it's been a year or two.
Hello?
Oh, I wonder if the. Didn't go down.
Abby, we lost you for a second.
Oh, my internet's out. I didn't know if maybe like anybody else's internet had just blinked.
She's hardwired, so
Oh,
she's not on wireless, so
Oh.
it shouldn't have been that.
So Abby, I have you unmuted on my side. You might check your settings. Okay, I see what you're saying, Abby. Let me see if I can mute you and unmute you and see if that will give us connection again. Hold on. All right, try now, Abby. someone have Abby's phone from the committee meeting, and would you mind holding your phone to the mic? Abby, we're gonna go old school, and Christy's gonna call you with her phone. And Christy, you can sit right there and just hold it to your mic.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And
Yeah.
Christy's gonna hold the phone to the mic so that you can share out. I'm sorry for the difficulty. Just hang it on just for a second.
Hello?
Hey, okay.
Okay.
You hear it?
All right. Can everybody hear me? I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Okay. Is everyone able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I'm trying to talk as loud as I can. Okay. So I was wanting to go over a few of the things on the bylaws. If you will scroll down, Carol Ann, to where it says 6. We'll start with that one. And it says, carry out any other responsibility as designated by federal law or the state board. And we talked about that today because as those parents that came in today, obviously it was very gut-wrenching hearing what they had to say. And the parent that stated about the changes that should have been made by, what was that, July 2019, I think she stated. My question for you is if that states carry out any other responsibility as designated by federal law or the state board, is there a way for us to be able to help with that and see which districts have things that have not been done in time to help with the accountability process of that?
Or you want me to?
I'm not sure I'm even clear on the question. This is Sherry. If you can restate that. I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand your question.
It's okay. So basically where it says carry out any other responsibility as designated by federal law or the state board. With that, as for an example, the mom that stood up today and spoke and stated that the state recommendation changes were supposed to be due, I think, the district changes needed to be made by July 2019, if I remember that correctly. And if that's the case and it still hasn't been done, is there a way for us to be able to see those kind of things when you all are presenting different items to us when we have our meetings? So I know a few months ago, I think Carol Ann did, a big presentation on all of the different stuff for the past year. Or Sherry, actually, that might have been you, I'm sorry. But where you basically were telling us like all of the different things from districts that you had over the past year, and we went down that list.
Right,
Is there a way we could get that for the districts when it comes to them being held accountable for these types of events not happening?
So you were talking about the parent discussing the dispute resolution and the corrective action was not corrected by July. That's part of our due process, to be repetitively redundant.
Okay.
And I'm going to let Carol Ann address that because we don't just ignore that. We have to respond to that, and that comes under Carol Ann's supervision with her section. So I'm going to let her address that.
So a couple of layers to respond to your answer. First of all, under this requirement, item 6 here, just in general, the state board or the federal government would have to specifically give you the authority to act in a particular way. That's what this item 6 means. So the State Board of Education would have to specifically say that this council is responsible for doing A, B, or C. The federal law says that we have to have a council to advise the State Board of Education. And so that is the responsibility that the council has by federal statute. So to have some other organized activity beyond identifying unmet needs and advising the state board would have to dispense that authority to this board to act in that capacity. So that's just getting number 6 tied up with your question about do you have authority or do you have some actionable opportunity through item 6. Now, with regard to the information the parent shared about the corrective action timeline, because there was a state complaint involved, we have not left that situation. We are involved in that case until that case is closed. So our office follows up on that information, and we take action at the local level regarding the timeliness of those completions. Now, the worst case scenario, if there are things that continue to be in a prolonged state, we can look at, in child-specific cases, that the LEA cannot be allocated funds based on the fact that the child's issue has not been resolved in a timely fashion. So I could make that recommendation to the director. Sherry would review that, and then it would just have its own process about whether or not the LEA needs to have some kind of consequence in that manner. Prolonged situations of unresolved noncompliance holistically, if this is a pattern not only with state complaints but with other issues in the LEA, then those cumulative effect of that is we could make a recommendation for formal sanctions, which is when you publicly notice that the LEA is out of compliance and they have to come to the state board and pretty much explain themselves about why they are not in compliance and what their plan is to resolve that. So there are mechanisms that we do, and we are charged with that responsibility by the state board to follow up, and federally to follow up on what is non-compliant in the LEAs. The other piece of your question is about, can we share that information with the council? Well, we can share aggregate information regarding patterns of noncompliance, but because this issue is involving a particular child, for confidentiality reasons, I wouldn't be able to share the particulars.
Now, and this is Sherry, let me jump in. What Carol Ann just described is the absolute worst case scenario, but under our general supervision requirement with the federal government that we must address every year when we submit our grant for our IDEA funds, we have to ensure that general supervision is being upheld and that we are ensuring that is happening. So they have not left this case just because that the school may not have done item they were supposed to do by July. We won't leave that. We won't take them off that corrective action. They will not be able to just walk away from that. But that's under our general supervision charge. Getting to the delay of funds or sanctioning, it takes a lot to get there. So that doesn't happen with just a one incident kind of thing. I wanted to make sure we were clear that we're not like the sheriff in town coming to get you because you missed a date. But it does cause a conversation, and I can assure you that there are probably multiple people on our staff already working with that district to ensure that they get that compliance in place.
Okay. All right.
But I appreciate that effort.
I was wanting to just kind of get that clarified. So thank you very much. Now that I understand that better. Okay. Will you scroll down again to, I think it's G. Let's see here. It's under G, and I think it's. Let me get here. All right. Okay, yeah. So we'll start G3 and G4. I wanted to kind of talk about. So we were talking about this past summer where we had a lot of the different autism policy changes going on, and there were a few phone conference calls about that. And if I'm correct, there were only about, I think, an average of 8 to 9 people that actually were able to come on to that call. Is that correct?
Roughly that. I mean, when we had the largest meeting, I think we had like 8 people on it, and then we had absentee voting and had like 3 more responses.
Okay, so on number 4, we'll start with number 4. So bylaws may be amended by a 2/3 vote of those present at a council meeting. I was thinking we should take out the 2/3 vote and we could just put in quorum, because as far as quorum, we can decide on how many people that quorum is. It doesn't have to be a specific number. I was going to say and propose
More than
9. So bylaws be amended by a 9-person quorum, if that would be something that you all are interested in. I just, if you guys think it should be more, that's great. I just kind of wanted to go with something that maybe, with something that was kind of, I guess that would be appropriate considering what we had this summer present.
I think the bylaws need to maintain a stringent change or requirement to change as far as having a good majority, not just bare majority.
But the quorum, it
I believe
says
definition of quorum is more than 50%.
one
Yeah.
more than 50%, which was 13, I think.
And I think that's
In-
something that would have to, it would certainly have to go through the state board
State board.
attorneys.
Yeah.
The state board has those requirements that we follow as far as advisory councils and guidelines. And
Yeah.
I doubt they would approve that.
The origin of the problem is people attending the meeting and being active.
Yeah.
And that's the whole purpose of bylaws, is not to,
Yeah. The part that I was, because
I think.
would be the quorum being at least 13 members to be being 50% plus 1 possibly of current members. Because we had a situation this past summer where we had
3 off.
several people who cycled off because they didn't do their terms, hadn't had new people come on yet, so it made it challenging to get the number. So that's the change that I am or I think needs to be considered in that regard. And we can bring this up at our next meeting, because it's something we'll need to have a shot as a whole council.
Yeah.
I'd love to do it after we get our new membership on board, because once again, we need to have 2/3 vote as well, because it would be a change to the bylaw, so,
And you would need state board legal
State- yeah.
counsel to
as well.
approve that.
Yep.
So you may have just said this and I missed it, and I apologize if I did, but you have item number 2 there, which provides an option for absentee voting. So that may be,
had.
okay.
They exercise that, I
Okay.
believe.
We exercised that this summer,
Okay.
and we only got like 3 responses on it, including, because I kept the people who had cycled off on my email hoping, it's like, well, we just want to slide like my almost 3rd year, 4th year on the as chair. But we'll work through that as well. But I see where you're going, and I think that's, but I think the bylaw change need to be very stringent with the large majority of the council, not just 50% plus 1, so.
Is that 13? Is that number 13? 50% plus 1?
I think we're required to have, 24 members of the council? I mean, I'm sure it's in that bylaw somewhere with with at least 50%.
There's an at least number
Yeah.
in there, I believe, is how it's written. Minimum of 24. So you can
Yeah.
exceed that.
That is 12 plus 1.
So that is 13.
Yeah.
13 would be,
But when so this past summer we had like 20.
But you were
20
thinking
listed.
because 3 haven't been appointed to cycle back on, you really don't have 24
No.
at that time when we met.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying now. So you were proposing maybe changing it from at least 13 to the percentage of current membership.
Yeah.
again, I'm going to advise you
And
to
did
check
I
with
hear Sherry-
school board
did I
attorney,
hear-
because they
Yeah.
will have very specific guidelines
Yeah.
they have to ensure.
And I agree.
Did I hear Sherry state that we have to go by the way the state does their quorum? Because if so, then we do have to go by 50%.
I said that the state board attorney would have to advise and approve your bylaws, because you are an advisory to them, therefore they need to align. The state board
Okay,
attorney
so that
worked with,
won't align.
on the last bylaws, yes.
Yeah, I remember all that.
Yeah, that's not going to align because they do have a 50%. Okay,
Yeah, it's,
All right,
it's
then.
50, it's 50 plus 1, I think, is their quorum, right?
that is what. Yeah.
That's what 13
pretty
is.
standard in
Yeah.
any
School
advisory board
boards.
or nonprofit board.
School boards,
School boards, that's a pretty standard
do anything without
protocol.
a quorum plus 1.
But I see what you're saying, and I guess if we mainly made sure that the members stayed current, and the 3 that came on, like the people that came off in June, there was somebody that came right back on, we wouldn't have had the issue.
Exactly.
Would
Yeah,
mean that
exactly.
we would need to nominate folks and elect folks in the March, is it March or April? So that they were here and active in June.
Yes.
Push that cycle
Minimum
forward.
24, so you could have a crossover.
Yep.
We have 23 listed right now, so
Yeah, and some of them, because as knows, it's like, okay, she's still on and she's moved, she's still on and she cycled off. So, yeah. Yeah, we're in that waiting to be updated stage. So, was there anything else, Abby? I mean, I don't mean to shortchange your ideas, but I mean,
If Christy heard everything, I can just talk to her later because I couldn't barely hear anybody.
okay,
No, we're good. There wasn't
Okay.
anybody else. Anything else?
all right. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
Thanks, Abby.
You guys have a great day.
I'll call you
Bye-bye.
later. Bye.
Okay, thanks. All right, bye.
Yeah, and sorry for the delay, Miss Sherry.
That is okay. I just thought I'd stand here and I'd be ready. Let me answer
All right.
some of those questions too. So good afternoon. It's good to see everybody. It's good to be here. I've got a few updates for you, and so I'm going to start with following up. I did send you the email with the proposed revised policy around ASD eligibility, and then I sent a communication to let you know that that had indeed passed. And I did that because the board has a new procedure now where they move everything that is for vote into one vote. They aren't individually voting on each item. And sometimes things get lost. And people aren't sure if if a proposal or a policy or a recommendation is passed. So I wanted to make sure you were all aware that it did pass. We are working on that implementation plan. And so we actually had our implementation plan done ahead of our schedule. But our target is November 1 to have the resources ready for guidance documents. I sent that request out to the council as well as the stakeholder group that met with us on August 22nd. And I've had about 12 or 15 people respond that they would be willing to review the documents and give feedback. So our plan is that the consultants are working right now to develop those documents, those guidance documents, and there will be one for administrators. I think that's actually going to be either a YouTube or a PowerPoint with a voice-over guidance for principals, because we know they need something quick, easy to look at and grasp that information and move on. Sending them a 20-page document, they may not get through that, but if they can watch something for 10 or 15 minutes, that's probably much more efficient and probably a better rate of us getting them to look at it. So administrators, that would be for directors, for principals, for whomever needs to look at that. So that's targeted for early November. We are looking to have a guidance document for gen ed and special ed teachers and then one for parents. And so what my plan is to take all the folks that have volunteered to do a review and to give feedback on those guidance documents. I'm supposed to get those about the 15th of October. And my goal is to have our internal leadership team look at those. Carol Ann, Matt, other folks on our leadership team, other section chiefs, so that within a week, we're going to be able to send out to that stakeholder group then the documents and ask you to review one of those. I'm not going to ask you to review all three because that's a lot for any person. But our goal will be within about a 2-week period of time then to have all your feedback back to us, make any changes that are recommended that we can, because what we're looking for is clarity, and we want to make sure that these documents are very clear in guidance for whomever is reading them or using them. And then the goal is to have those ready by the first part of November, and we will do training using those documents, talking about the policy at our November conference. We'll have a couple of sessions on that. All that training will also be embedded, the policy part will be embedded in all of our ongoing training around students with autism. And then we'll be ready to roll out policy come January 1. I am going to come back to the state board in December to give them an update, to let them see what we've developed, to give them a timeline of what we've accomplished since the August board meeting so that they can stay on board. They've also shared if we don't feel like we're ready to roll this out, if something happens, we don't get those guidance documents done, then certainly we'll ask to delay that implementation till till later, but our goal is to have that ready for January. So that's kind of a quick update. Most of that I think I sent in an email, but any questions? Is that clear? Does that feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Felt good to me. Feels like we've done the right thing. And I will tell you, that's the best stakeholder group I've ever participated in. And I've been in education a very long time. I think this is year 34 for me, with a gap there in the middle with my youngest when she was born. So to be able to sit in a stakeholder group and get honest, reflective feedback on the topic and us be able to come out with a change that everybody could agree on was a pretty cool experience. Leanna was there, and it really was a good day. It gave me hope that we can actually get stakeholders back engaged, because we've done that, and what happens is we start with a very large group, and by the time we finish whatever work we're doing, we're down to just a few. And that kind of misses the purpose and intent of doing a stakeholder group when you're down to just a few people who are showing up to help you problem solve. So gave me renewed hope that we're going to get people re-energized about being a part of that. We've set some priorities for our division work, and I talked a little bit about this in June. Just want to give you an update that we are having our second round of meetings with our adapted curriculum work, and trying to get not only clarity around teacher expectations, but what that curriculum should look like, what the tools are that teachers need, what support they need if they've come out of a pre-service program that maybe did not address working with students with more significant needs, and if they don't feel prepared, then how can we help them access that? So that's been on the radar. I've talked about the AU policy stakeholder group. We're going to ask that group to stay together as well to give us feedback as we move into looking more around instruction and best practices, and ensuring we're doing a good job with the curriculum piece once we've identified those kiddos as well. We will be looking at some cleanup in our policies. We know we've got some editing to do. There's always a typo that we miss, even though we've looked at it 50 times. But we do have our policy on specific learning disabilities that was passed back in 2016. 16? Did I get that right? 2015. 15. October of 15. Which moves us away from using a discrepancy model where you compare their students' IQ to their achievement level on those academic assessments, to looking at a response to intervention model, or did they respond to the intervention that was provided? Has there been progress monitoring? Have we used the right intervention? So really getting back to how that eligibility was in the law in 1975, that we kind of turned into some other ways of interpretation. But right now our policy has that in there as it will become effective on July 1, 2020. And we've got to clean up the policy. So we'll be doing some cleanup. I don't think we have an intent at this point to do major changes, but anything that does come up that we need to look at will certainly come before this council prior to us moving forward to the state board. You have my word on that. Conference, I mentioned that earlier. Just a reminder that our conference is November 20th and 21st at the Corey Center in Greensboro. We have a day and a half. 5 different breakout sessions plus a plenary, plus we honor our educators of excellence. And if you've never been there for that, it is a great time to watch teachers being celebrated. Teachers, therapists, anyone who works with students with disabilities is eligible to be nominated if they are an employee of a school district. And so that notification just went out this week around making the nominees from districts for that educator of excellence. We accept 1 nominee from each of the traditional, 1 from each region for charters, plus our state-operated programs. And we usually have about 100 nominees, so it's a fun time. Excuse me. This year, I've created a real focus around parent engagement, because we've seen that through this AU policy, we don't have good mechanisms in place to reach out to parents, or what we've done in the past is no longer effective. Social media is a great tool until it becomes a tool used for negativity, so we're trying not to do everything through Facebook. We do have a Twitter account. But one of the things I want to do this year, and my dear registration team, poor Tish, I moved her cheese again, but they're working with me. And so my goal is to contact all of our parent advocacy groups in the state and offer them up to 5 free registrations for parents that they have within either their group, their contact group, on their board, just to try to increase our parent engagement at the conference. And so I wanted to make you aware of that as well. So I will be reaching out to, First Resources, ECAC, First Families First. There's so many, I can't rattle them all off. Easter Seals, ASNIC, Teach. Any organization that has that parent focus and offering them up to 5 registrations. So there will be communication going out to those agencies around that, which brings me to my next item. We've also created a parent listserv. And this information went out yesterday to our local directors and charter coordinators, and it also went to every agency we could find that is involved in any way with parents and children with disabilities. And so I asked Carolyn to pull this up so I can walk you through it. So where it says sign up for updates, it's on the homepage of public schools. When you click that, it takes you to a page where you can either, it says email, you can also do that drop down, I believe, and have it sent as a text message if that's how you want to receive your update. You hit submit, you put in your email address or your phone number, hit submit, and then it will take, Carolyn's going to do it so we can actually see it live. Then it will take you to a page where you can select the new listserv we've set up. So you have to do this. If you get the State Board of Ed's updates or you get the superintendent's updates, this is coming from the same portal. And so Carol Ann has put in her information.
What information will go out through this? Because I'm wondering if we already get the EC Division 1, like, it would be nice to know this is what parents are getting.
Yep, I'll tell you.
Okay.
I want to, since we started the login here, I'm
Yep.
going to. Okay, so when you go in and log in, put in your own personal information. When you scroll down, it's under resources and it says exceptional children information for parents.
Okay.
Once that is clicked, you have to go to the bottom and hit submit. And that registers you. So what will be coming through here are things like we're having public comment on an AU policy that nobody got out to the field or few parents knew about. So it's going to go directly to those parents who sign up or to those agencies who will sign up and then send it out to their listserv. So as a council member, I'm going to take that back, not as a council member, as the director of EC, you're going to get everything we send. But when we're talking about your educator of excellence, we're not going to send that to a parent because that's not relative. But anything that deals with instructional practices, opportunities, conferences, policy changes, resources for parents, those things will go through that listserv out to anyone who registers. But the key is they have to sign up. So we've asked all those agencies that we sent that out to forward that to their listserv or to be committed to signing up and then forwarding the information out. So one use I can think of is if you are looking for council members, that would be something we could use to send out to say if you're interested in sitting on the council, then here's what you do. So it gives us a vehicle to kind of help support you with some of your work as well. And I'm actually pretty excited about that. I feel much better about that than trying to shoot everything out through social media, quite frankly, because we know they're going to get accurate information because we're sending out the details to them that we're sending out to districts. So districts may send it out and then we may send it out again. So I guess if you get it twice, it's better than not getting it at all, which is our hope.
That's great.
Any feedback on that? Any comments?
Just in addition to, I anticipate that oftentimes communications will have opportunities for structured feedback so that
Yes.
it's not just going to be a one-way type
Yes.
of communication vehicle,
you
that
for
there
that.
will be opportunities for.
Thank you. I forgot that part, but yes. So we'll look for feedback, stakeholder group involvement, surveys. I think it's going to be a good tool for us to use to really improve communication. I've talked to the chairwoman of the Special Education Committee for the state PTA. She's already signed up, so she's ready to send anything we do out.
That's good to know. I don't know if your brain was clicking, but I was thinking if I get it as a parent and then just forward it out to my parents of students with special needs,
Yes.
they don't have to sign up that way. But
That's true.
be, you know,
That's why if you have a listserv already
leverage
created,
resources to,
yeah, it's to be shared, and it will say that every time. Please share whatever we send out,
good.
so that
you.
it's
It'll be in a parent language,
yes.
parent focused.
I've already seen it on ECAC's Facebook page, and I posted it this morning on ASNIC, or no, I think somebody else posted on ASNIC. So it's getting out there.
It is, and it will be, it takes us days to get things on our webpage, but it will be on the main page, and then it will also be on the parent page on our website. Yeah, I popped it up in LinkedIn today, because you never know who's going to see it, so I figured it was a good place to announce that. We also, I don't know if Carol Ann was going to talk about this, but I'll steal her thunder. We also have a new parent liaison coming on board. It's been a while, and she's tried diligently and has had several people turn her down. And finally, somebody came back and said, I really do want that job. So we're excited, and I believe she starts Monday. And so once we get, I'm not going to hit her with this on Monday, but once this person, maybe Tuesday, once she's in and settled and really kind of into her, understanding her role, this listserv will become owned by that parent liaison, which will, I think, help us build. I mean, that's the whole purpose of having that person there, is to improve our communication and our outreach. So it's the logical place for that to be. And then I think that was everything I had on my updates. Last but not least, I want to introduce officially our assistant director for our division. He came on board July 1, and it's Dr. Matt Hoskins, who has been with our division in a couple of different roles and left us for a very short time to go work over in integrated academic and behavior support, but saw the light and came back across to EC. I don't know if you have anything you want to say, Matt, but just want to introduce him to the group and let you know he's here to support you as well.
Yeah, just good afternoon. I know most of everybody in the room. I'm just incredibly excited about serving students in North Carolina in this role. I think we're poised at a really unique time to really improve results for students with disabilities across the state. We have a lot of really great things happening as described in the priorities that Sherry just shared with ECATS, with the SLD policy, with the work that we're doing around specially designed instruction, the state systemic improvement plan. We're really poised to improve results. I'm really excited to be part of that work. And if I can be of any service to this council at any point in time, don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. But happy to be here and happy to see everybody.
Do you have any questions or comments for us today?
Not that I know of. Just so everyone remembers that the November council, conference. And as historically, we've always had free admission to that conference as members of the council. So be sure to take that up on that opportunity, because it's always awesome.
Yeah, you get free registration.
Yep. You have to pay for your own hotel room. I'm sorry, they can't cover that for us.
Tish,
but-
can you speak to that just a little? Because we had to do
Yes,
something
that's
with a
what I
code last
jumped up
year. And spot on.
At the bottom of your agenda is a special code for only council members. So you may go,
Fancy pants.
once our registration is up, we're probably about a week to 10 days out for it being posted, registration being posted on our website. So give us about 7 to 10 days. Go on when registration is open. One of the very first choices is, I have a code. So you will select that box and you will insert this code as the council member. And what you will get in return is like a zero invoice. But now, you do get free registration for the general conference. If you elect to attend an additional institute, you will need to pay for that separately, and that would be $75 if you elect to attend an institute.
All right. Yay, thank you. Anyway, it's been a couple years since I've just been busy. All right, any other discussion that we need to have? Well, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, we were doing some looking, and I cannot rerun for, I already said that, didn't I, about okay, so I need to go over that again.
But may I ask a question? Because we're
Yes.
going to do a better job of staying on top of this. We have 3 members who are eligible for another 4-year term, and I need to know if they are willing to run, to be proposed for another 4-year term, because I'd like to get this to the board at their special meeting this month and get this done, so that you have those assured active members. And then if it's all right with you, I will reach out to our legislative liaisons to tell them that we need those 4 positions.
Yeah. I know,
filled.
I know Janine Vlasky has moved, she was cycling off, she's still on this list.
Okay, so that you have a need in Region 3.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm staying, I think Cynthia Daniel Halls is staying.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Very, very
She
well.
didn't indicate otherwise when she.
Jenny, are you staying or are you leaving?
I'll say if you have me.
I think we'll have
We-
you. All
Need
right.
an obnoxious
We need
big mouth.
we need a new representative and senator.
Yep.
Yes, so that's for the
And
legislature. So, do
Teresa-
you know who
We're
nominated
missing
you,
eight.
Virginia?
We're missing Region 8 off.
Yes, it was, I believe
you
it was
Region 8?
Barefoot's office.
Yeah.
I think I'll have to look at the list.
Boone is 7?
Oh,
Asheville's
I
8.
got a phone call from the speaker's office last
Okay.
week. That's all I know.
From
And they
last
said-
week?
Yeah, and they said that they would get back with me, and I haven't heard anything.
Okay, so
So-
they're on it, so they know
I'm
you
probably
need
here
to
illegally,
be.
I don't know.
Okay.
So
If they've contacted you, that means they've recognized that they need to, renew that recommendation for you, so that's good.
Good.
You asked me a question?
Yes, so Cynthia, participating virtually, would like to continue for another term.
Okay. So it looks like there needs to be a nomination for Region 3, and you said 8, Tish?
Yeah, 8's not represented at all.
8's not represented at all.
Do you know off the top of your head what areas are in those, like what counties are in those regions?
Region 8 is the far west, lower part of the west, so Asheville down.
Yeah.
Ooh, I might have somebody for that one.
Well, my daughter's in school in Marion, is she Region 8?
That would
Not a
be
parent.
Region 8. Yeah, Asheville.
I mean, I'm just a weird situation, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's good to have a parent that has a situation like mine too, though, because it's just a different
It's
situation.
unique.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, I think we're adjourned. I mean, any other burning questions? Oh, Tish has something.
Tish, this is different than you've ever done before. Can you tell us what you want to do?
Because it's a new form. Jenny, did you see?
In the back of your packet, you should have some items stapled together.
more
One
or
of them is
burger?
a travel reimbursement form. The second page is an
City.
electronic payment form.
It's more.
And the third one is a substitute W-9.
Are you in Cleveland County?
Now, I can tell you that since July 1, DPI's accounts payable area has just been through tremendous changes. That's all I'm gonna say about that. So why these papers are stapled together is I did want to have them all together so we can just kind of go through them step by step so that y'all can get reimbursed. So for the top page, the travel reimbursement, if you could just complete your name, address, and sign it under claimant, that should get you on the first page.
Do we need to put parking on that page too?
We'll get to parking in just a second. But
Okay.
just on page 1, if you could just do your name, address, and sign it. Are we good there? Good? Okay. All right, the second page says electronic payment form. DPI's accounts payable does not want to issue hard checks to folks anymore. They want to deposit them into your checking account. So that is the purpose of this second page, which will have very sensitive information on it. And a voided check is necessary.
So if we don't have a checkbook with us at this moment, then there's no point in this, right?
Just mail it back.
Correct.
Fill it in.
Sherry. Is Henderson County? Huh? Henderson County? Got one for you. Okay.
Yes, is gonna be my response. I'm on the same page with you. I am truly on the same page with you. But again, since July 1, our accounts payable area has gone through an enormous amount of changes, and these are part of the requirements for them to issue a check to anyone. Is basically what the bottom line is.
I wonder if there's something in your online check account that you can print off the routing, so that's the evidence that they want those numbers at the bottom.
Yeah,
The routing number.
So there might be a feature in your personal checking that allows you to print that off, or like other things, like voided checks or
You can also
something.
print like an electronic check, a voided electronic check.
I mean, Carol Ann is right. What they are looking for is the bank account routing number, so that the payment can go directly into your checking account.
yeah, just in case they read your handwriting wrong.
And then this last page does tend to get tricky. Everything like number 1, 3, 4, 5, all that gets kind of self-explanatory. Where most people get tripped up at is number 12 and number 13. In the number 12 area, you could just put individual sole proprietor. And under number 13, you can put other individual. Now, to top all of that off, we need to have these things, they will not take them over 30 days old. So we need to get them back ASAP if you want to get reimbursed. Now, for your parking receipts that you'll get today out of the machine when you leave, please, staple that, include that with your paperwork. So if we have the parking receipt and all these pretty little forms stapled together, we can issue you some money.
If you hold your mouth right, spin around
Yeah.
3 times.
Give us your blood type and your firstborn.
And your left kidney, right?
Kidding.
Yeah, parking ain't worth all that. If I had mileage or something like that.
And who do we
put forth
mail
the
it
effort,
to?
But
You can mail it to us, and I actually
You still
have
have mileage.
some
even from
pre-addressed
what county?
envelopes.
it's not this, it's not worth
Sure.
all that.
Don't worry
It's
about
not-
number
You
3.
understand it's not ours.
Because
That's
you're an individual, so
problem. This
up
has
under
been a
number
nightmare
1,
for our
you're gonna
folks.
Oh,
check
no,
social
just
security
forms
number,
in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you're gonna provide that social security number under the number 2 section. The number 3 is like for corporations.
Okay.
Can you repeat what you just said about putting it under Social Security, putting under number 2 in that space? Is that it? Rather
Right,
than number
on the
3?
sub W-9 form, number 1 is required, you're gonna check social security number. Under number 2, that's where you would write your social security number. Number 4 is your name. You can skip 5 and 3. Number 6, that's your address, line 1, line 2. Number 8, contact name, that's you again. Phone number, that's you. Number 12 is gonna be an individual. And number 13 is going to be other, and you could just write individual. Now, going forward, since you would have already submitted the electronic deposit form as well as the sub W-9, from here forward, you should just be able to do just the travel reimbursement. That's all I got to say about that.
Tish, is it possible, I know we have to mail in
So,
Um,
did it wrong. That's fine.
the parking, but is it possible to leave this with you with their social security number on it, so we don't have to drop that in the mail? Is it possible to leave this one page with you, so we don't have to drop this in the mail that has our social security number on it? Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
I don't like,
Thank you. Thanks, Tish.
I mean, I don't mind putting a parking receipt in the mail, my social security number's like,
But you gotta put a check in
yeah,
check.
we still need a voided check, yeah.
But yes, if you want to leave something with us now, I'm perfectly fine.
Oh, sorry. She's got her ears.
Had a request, a new request, not. Yeah, okay.
I feel like we're adjourned.
And then-
Sure, I did.
And then I can mail this with the check, and it is what it is, but I'd rather you not have a social security number in the mail.
Leanna, would you like to formally adjourn the meeting?
Okay, is there any further business? So I've gotten stopped twice, I think. All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Only 30 minutes late, usually we're 30 minutes early. Made you work hard today. All right.
This is something for, oh, this is for this. I just gotta put the check in there and.
These two are gonna expire. 2020, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So then you-
I'd rather you hold on to it than me put it in
Sounds
the
good.
mail.
Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully it can be here for the June meeting and then, yeah.
Oh, right.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right, I got it.
Some do. They have time on their hands too, because you know they don't have jobs.
Sweater on.
Very smart.
Well, I'll mail you.
I agree.
Always good to see you.
Changeover, huh?
Pack yourself up, Caleb.
Yes.
All used up.
Be okay.
He's, doing a lot with the, witness.
He's not doing much.
But I know that
He's not doing much.
there'll be
He's probably enjoying life for a little bit.
He is enjoying the garden and the reading and
through time, but,
my son is with us right now.
do all electronic, like it'll be nice.
So they are chefs extraordinaire and I just walk in and they feed them.
Perfect. You couldn't ask for anything better.
Pretty good deal.
That is perfect.
No, I do the grocery. Most of
I'll do the grocery shopping.
it's a week for that.
It's one thing if you were like, if I was sitting down with somebody and I was just telling them that and they were entering it into a computer system right then and there, but like you're mailing that.
Adult kids live with me.
That's the other way for me, please. Thank you, son.
Emily likes, she's 22, and she likes to experiment. I'm like,
Did you ever have your identity stolen?
"Oh, we're not experimenting on food. We're buying things that we know
Somebody
we
had
like.
that. I worked in banking,
Potato
so
chips
I
that taste like
she bought this. I've got to think long and hard, but I mean,
The only thing that's not on there is our date of birth, which is actually really weird.
that I just sent
there's
you.
something.
You can just find that online though.
Has some physical issues with disabilities, but she is an EC teacher in Jefferson County, so I just sent her another message to see if she had any parents that might be.
Right, that would be great.
And I blanked out when you were talking about contacting the legislators about getting.
Yeah, we have to go through our internal legislative people.
Okay,
Just
so
the
it can't be any legislator or any representative.
Go talk to whomever you want.
Oh, okay.
But for them to be nominated for us to take to the board. We have to go through. That later.
Okay, so like I could send you the name of one who might be interested, and then you can go through that process.
Yeah, there is that too, but I mean, if I need to keep it, that's fine, but I don't know.
Might be interested. Parents representatives.
Go off.
Okay.
Somebody needs to keep it, but
We literally have to have permission
With,
Wasn't the judgment.
that's what I think.
I get it.
It really is, and it's because we got a lot.
21st century. Did a little trading with her and got
Do
her
you all
up
keep
to date.
this?
Great one. We'll see you in December.
No, because I don't necessarily for me. I keep what comments. Yeah, but I'm sitting here thinking somebody probably needs to have it in case. Yeah. Yeah. Right. It never says the names. Yeah. So I don't know that it's really.
I took a picture of it, so.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I thought I just write up the agenda, that's the thing.
Dave, I went to him before.
Find me a copy machine.
Yeah.
I don't know, are we? You are? Really?
About to outgrow you, Leanna.
I know, he's grown so much over the last 3 years, hasn't he?
He's definitely, he's used to be shorter than you. He's not anymore.
I know. He used to be cute and,
He used to be a little sweet little child.
I
Now
know,
he's turned
sitting
into a
over
young
here
man.
doing his homework, and now he's sitting over here playing video games instead of doing his schoolwork. But he gets to do it tomorrow. He might have to do it Saturday. He might have to miss his sleepover Friday night if it doesn't get done.
Oh heavens! That sounds like a threat.
Better get started on that stuff.
Hey, come on, you're homeschooled.
Threat,
School doesn't take you
promise.
that long, but still.
Sometimes they can sound the same.
Sorry, here's yours back.
Okay, as long as you can read that, that's pretty dark.
Oh, yeah, that's good now. Okay, yeah. And so I guess at like one of the planning calls, we'll see if the committees have any kind of structure or what they
Yeah, I think I'll send an email out tonight to the committee leaders and find out, do you need a webinar? I know, I think it's a good idea for the that needs committee to have a webinar,
Okay.
I think so because we're going to go back and forth. So
but I'm not sure if the other two need one. They might. But with looking at one, make modifications to the bylaws. Has the ASD policy stuff coming up for the, says who's gonna get that, so yeah. Maybe I'll even.
after hours, I'll have to investigate any of those. I mean, it's definitely out there. But now it's started.
do I know who all's on my committee? Because most of the ones that we're talking about rotating off are the ones that's on my committee. But I got as far. So we may need to reevaluate who's going on our committee before we can even answer that.
We might.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I can make it work,
Yeah,
but I don't know my committee.
yeah.
And I'm fine either way. I mean, I'll make it work.
And I'll put everywhere and anywhere anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be my kid. In fact, I'm surprised I even have it.
I think we have a system now. Yeah.
He's a typical 13-year-old. He's ready to go. It's like, I'll stay here all day.
Yeah, I'm done. You said it's over. I'm gone.